Hello again. Hold on just a second here. Docs. Clearly had some technical issues. We'll jump right back into it. Here we go. Okay. Hopefully you're around for the first part, which was a mere 17 minutes long, and then cut off right in the middle of it, because I guess I did something. But I was showing this Washington map, and basically I made this little piece of paper that had kind of length on it, and then I set it on the screen to kind of do some stuff, and then that's when everything cut off. But the bottom line is one of my hexes goes from here to probably about there, and northwise from like British Columbia down past Portland. And that's the normal size of my 240? Yeah, 240. That is, I think, incorrect. Or, I mean, it should be correct. Now I gotta go check my labels here. Oh, yeah, 120, 240. Okay. So. Grab this thing here. Yeah, 240. Okay. Whew. All right. All that out of the way. So that's what's going on basically, is I'm building it roughly the size of that thing. And then did I close down my other thing too? Nope. Nope. And oh, turn up to listen to the volume of my previous stream so that I could figure out where it cut off, so I knew what to fill in. Anyway, that's what's going on. So yeah, I'm not super worried about, or I am actually worried about the detail at this level, because I want to be able to use the function to zoom in and get more detail. But I want this, the way that I'm doing it right now, so that I have a little more unevenness in my borders, in my edges up against the water. These are all theoretically spots for inlets or rivers, that kind of thing. Plus, I can kind of get the idea. I really wish I could do finger in and out on this thing, but I can't. The other thing that I feel is kind of important when you're working is right there. I have this set at 150. You're never going to be like, zoomed into like 200 on your. You could probably go 200 actually, and that would be okay. But it's going to look like this normally. But I'll work twice as big, and then there'll be more pixels to pull from, right? So yeah, you see how I kind of went over that and left it this way, and then I'm coming in slightly behind it. So I'm, intentionally leaving notches, basically. I also really should. Well, this is going to be a pain, but for right now, anyway. It's a pain if I do it all the time. What I'm getting to is I can bring this scale up. I can throw it. And I can get a sense from the hex as well. Right, like it's 120, so that's probably like 10-ish miles across. I'm kind of curious. You sort of kind of world build at the same time in some ways. It's like, is that a huge shipping lane, or is it a tight little sort of like smuggler lane, or, you know, what's going on there? Theoretically keep a little notebook next to me so I could make notes of, you know, what I think about this thing. And then let's do that. It's possible I obliterated a little bit of the stuff that I wanted to do, but it's all organic, man. You can't, you're making a fantasy world. Like, there's no exact thing. There's not a right or a wrong. Oh, there could be a wrong, I guess, but it just has to generally match what you want. You can always come back in and correct stuff too. Yeah, I just made a little inlet that didn't exist before. And that's what I like. Like, this is based on, I've talked about this before, but I drew this world originally in like 1980 something on a piece of lined notebook paper, or not even, it's not lined actually, it's a sheet of printer paper or copy paper, or, you know, it's just a blank sheet of paper. Run through a copy or whatever. And I still have that somewhere, and I have a scan of it that I did, and so it's changed not dramatically, but like all these little coastal details have definitely changed. Alright, so now I've got this type of border. Now it's pretty safe to come in here with this and just do this. And I can come back in later and do lakes and mountains and, you know, all this other stuff that Wonderdraft does. But land masses, just getting the land masses down. Right, boom, done. Right, and that's a pretty cool looking little islandy now. Now, I'm not going to fill in stuff as I go. That was just a specific case for an island. Like, this continent is gigantic. So there's going to be large areas where I'm just going to make a giant fucking brush and just be like, kind of thing, right? Right now, in this session and probably the next 2 or 3 sessions, however long it takes me, calm down everybody, however long it takes me to do this, I'm going to be primarily focused on coastlines. I do a lot of different projects. There were people probably, I don't know, I don't have a ton of subscribers, that's okay. There were people probably like waiting for me to do another Blender thing because I'm building some sets for a graphic novel based on a short film script that we did. So the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 days I've been working in Blender, and there are probably people like, where's that Blender shit? But I do a lot of different stuff. And it basically takes a lot longer to get things finished, I guess. But it keeps my mind fresh. And every once in a while, you do kind of get to a point where you just want to drill down and finish a thing. Today is Wednesday for me. I don't usually do a ton of stuff on Friday, though. I always do stuff in the evening. I don't know if I'll be done with this map by Friday. Like, if I work on it tomorrow, which I should, although I've got some actual graphic design work to do tomorrow. I keep forgetting. But every once in a while, something gets close to, or close enough for completion, that I just drill into it and complete it. And it's not like I don't finish things. I actually finish a decent amount of things. Like I've written 5 or 6 full-length screenplays that are are pretty close to they're basically in a final form enough that I wouldn't mess with them until somebody wants to pay me money to mess with them, aka produce the thing. And I've had a couple producers approach me on a couple of them that just didn't work out for various reasons, because that's what happens. But some of these projects are sort of like, the adventure path that I'm building for this, I'm fucking 500 pages into it or whatever. Like, there's a whole bunch of content that I've generated for it. There's other videos here showing the other maps that I've done for the big lake thing over there, and I don't know if I'll redo those or not, honestly. Like, there is a bad habit that I have of trying to like redo stuff to make it better, and I should just be moving on to do other things. But at the same time, this is going to be, in theory, a published map, and so let's just make it as good as we can. I'm definitely not pulling in like, million. I'm pulling in, I'll be honest, I'm pulling in $0 as far as YouTube is concerned. And I'm pulling in, $6 or whatever. Like, my Patreon doesn't really have anybody on it either. I think I get around $12 from Patreon, and it's like $3 to join. Well, you can join for free and get access to some stuff, but the normal paid tier is like $3 or something. It's $2, whatever. I think it's 3. I wanted it to make it pretty low. But I get it, man. People, it's tight right now for everybody. But I do the work anyway, whether or not I have like 1 million Patreon people. So I'm like, I might as well just have it out there for anybody that wants to kick a little cash my way, which, I will be honest, will be used on cigars for sure. I should have a cigar tier. I should set that up. Figure out some special thing I could give somebody if they pony up like, I don't know, 12, whatever good. I can get a pretty good cigar for $12. I can get a really good cigar for $20, and I can get a smokable cigar for $8. Actually, there's one I buy that's $6. That's really good for breakfast stuff. You have to be somewhat aware of how, I guess, tides and water flow work if you really want to dial into something that looks more interesting. A lot of people concentrate on making sure that their rivers and stuff are correct, rivers and lakes. And that can be important as well. And honestly, like, if you're really dialed into it, it's like the material, I guess, of, the coastlines of Oregon are different somewhat even than the coastlines of Washington, though they're close. But both of them are so different from the coast of California. California, I don't know that there is a actual, there possibly is an actual sand beach in Washington, but I can't think of one. I don't even think Ocean Shores is sand. I think it's all fucking gravel and shit. And definitely the ones in Seattle are gravelly. And then Oregon, I guess Cannon Beach is sandy, I guess. But Oregon also has these fucking crazy rock formations, including Cannon Beach, honestly. And there may be some of that in Northern California, but I don't think that there's any of it in Southern, for example. And then both of those are going to look different than Florida. I've been to Florida on the west coast of the Gulf. I haven't been to the east coast of Florida, weirdly. I haven't been to Miami. I've been St. Petersburg, Tampa kind of area. St. Pete's Beach. St. Pete's Beach is just like a fucking classic sandy beach, with a sunset and flat as fuck. But then you go even south in Florida, and you're gonna get fucking swampy Everglades and shit. So I guess being aware of that. If you really want to dial in, if you're one of those people that really want to spike that sort of realism bell, or want that capital A authenticity, you should be figuring out what each part of your, the continent that you're building, like, what's the fucking weather like here? Like, what's the environment? What was here, 100,000 years ago? What did this look like? What did continental drift do? That kind of shit. Right? Like, I go there a little bit. Broad strokes. Okay, so like this big desert blows out through this bay, a lot of it. So the area around this, even though I'm kind of showing some craggy bits here in the older map, this honestly would probably be a lot smoother. And there definitely would be like island sandbars, but they might be larger and less sort of like nitpicky little things like this kind of deal. Up north, it's going to be way more glacier, craggy, that kind of thing. So yeah. Part of it too, we're going to be selling the adventure paths, but those adventure paths, there's initially, and maybe forever, who knows, going to be 4, one for each sort of geographic area, because again, the whole thing's like, separated by that big desert. So you have a north, south, east, and west area. And the areas that those adventures take place in this world are detailed, right? Like I got that down. That hex basically is pretty mapped out. But these other areas, like they're just open, right? And it might be a little egotistical of me, but I think they're good enough. I think that the map and the world building is good enough that there will be somebody out there that wants to run other adventures in it. Either their own sort of homebrewed made up stuff, or maybe they find maybe they find like a published adventure from another company that they'd rather set place in this world because their players have played the other adventure paths and they're so used to the world and the politics and stuff and whatever else. So you want to give them interesting areas, or you want to make that job obviously as easy as possible to encourage that. And if somebody comes up with some weird little pirate adventure where they want to be buccaneers around a bunch of little islands and all the rest of that, it's like, oh, it's more like lakes, I guess. But like, let's go over here and let's just put a random village right here, a town, and let's put another town here and another town here, and say that these three towns, ship stuff to each other, whatever. And somebody writes that adventure, and they're like, hey, I'm going to set it right here in this part of this world. Or I wonder what's going on this island. It's like, all right, yeah, make it up, man. Go for it. So the idea is to be somewhat detailed, but not... I see a lot of maps where, like, every square inch of it is sort of planned out and all the countries are named, and some of that's pretty okay. Like I definitely have specific countries that are all set up in this, but there are large areas of this world that I haven't thought about ever, or I've had maybe a vague idea, like west. So for example, this area that I'm working in now, like Westfield, there's a big city right here, and then there's a whole adventure path that takes place like up and down this coast. This is the desert. There's a huge stack of mountains that go kind of like right down through here, called Dreo Spine of the Dragon, and they're almost uncrossable in a way, but you could. I don't have any specific adventures set out for them, but on the lee side, I think. Anyway, on the side of the island, this is all like fertile agricultural kind of grasslands. I haven't thought shit about it other than there are probably a bunch of nomadic tribes moving through there. And I think like a lot of creators in the sort of D&D Pathfinder world, we automatically just assume gnomes. We automatically assume gnomes are engineers, but we automatically assume halflings are like nomadic for whatever reason. Even though Tolkien, pretty sure they're not. They got their little village or whatever. But all I know is in my world, I like them being nomadic. And so it's like, oh, maybe there's these huge caravans of tents that just move through that agricultural area, those fields. Or I was sort of reading back through the Elric series, fantasy science fiction series by Michael Moorcock, and I loved that series when I was a kid. And I'll be honest, parts of it don't age super well, and honestly, I think his writing fluctuated, and there's some, there were originally sort of 6 Elric books that were, I think the first one might have been based on some short stories. And those are not bad. Um, but then there were some later Elric books that were it filled in some of the gaps between the books. So he was like, "Oh, hey, remember when Elric was doing this other thing? Well, this was happening too." And he wrote them later, and they're not as good. They get a little too, I guess, philosophical in a negative way. Like it's all just Elric whinging on about, being a bad guy or whatever it is. Less action, more just kind of like philosophical debate, but overwritten. Sorry if you're out there, Michael. I do adore most of your stuff. But that said, there was one with all these huge cities that were set up on platforms and had mounts pulling them. And these cities were like a mile square, and there was a whole line of them. And that was very cool imagery, actually. I didn't get much past that segment in that book. Distracted. But the idea of that, I'm like, I could to figure out a way to have maybe these mobile platforms or mobile cities moving through that agricultural area. I guess a similar thing. Wasn't there like a YA movie based on a YA book, dystopian, when all that stuff was going on? And the cities were kind of, I feel like the trailer, I didn't go see the movie because that is not my fucking wheelhouse. The whole YA thing in general, but it felt like they were sort of steampunky. I can't remember what those were called. Machina something. No, I don't remember. I think it was based on a term that I'd heard somewhere else too. And I'm not disparaging on anybody that's like over the age of 14 that is into YA. I mean, you're into what you're into. That's fine. But I have a hard time for whatever reason, and was never able to get through Harry Potter. And they were like, "Oh, the books get more mature as the characters get older and the writing gets better." And I'm like, not my journey. Sorry, man. And then with the YA dystopian stuff, I was watching movies in the 70s, man, the 60s and 70s. That's when fucking dystopia was born, right? So you're not well, I mean, it was born before that, but technically there's probably some H.G. Wells time machine is pretty dystopian. But I mean, the 70s kind of peaked with that shit, in my opinion. Logan's Run and Soylent Green and all these different ones. I Am Legend. The earlier versions, I mean. Death Race. There was a bunch of them. And they're weird 70s stuff, but cool. Like, it's a testament, I think, honestly, to the weirdness of Logan's Run, which to me is like perfect dystopian. The books are not, the first book's not bad. I haven't read the other two in quite some time, so I actually kind of don't remember. I don't remember loving them or whatever. But the book's pretty solid. But I love the movie, like campiness and all, or how it's aged or whatever. Like, it's fucking great. Michael York and Jetty and Gutter and can't remember the guy that played Francis VII anymore. Robert Jordan. His last role was in Gettysburg. Anyway, that's my jam. Like, Logan's Run is definitely my jam. And it's a testament that they've never been able to adapt it into a modern retelling, right? And I got it all in my head. Like, I could, you know, I could do it. I could do a modern Logan's Run. But you'd have to find a production company with fucking balls, and there's not really too many of those that exist anymore. The original books, it was like with kids, basically. It was like the little jewels changed colors every 7 years, so it's like 7, 14, and 21. And I think you were dead at 21 as opposed to 30 in the books. They couldn't find enough young actors, I guess, for the movie. And that's definitely I don't want to say problematic. It's definitely a challenge. You know, it's like, oh, do you want to actually de-age it the way that it was? And I get it. Like, if you're wanting to kind of base the age range more on the movies, so that you have a little more freedom of the kind of stories you can tell. You have budgetary concerns with having kids in school, not only finding child actors, but child actors are a huge fucking pain in the ass to like film. 'Cause, you know, you gotta have a teacher. You should, you know, you need your teacher around. You need your fucking guardian around. All that kind of stuff. You got hours, limited hours you can work. These are all good things. Like, I'm not trying to say that you should be treating your kid actors like it's the 30s again or whatever. But that is budgetary shit, right? That's all stuff that adds to the cost of the thing. And if you're doing a TV show that's not a sitcom, and you don't have a pair of fucking twins you can switch out for the baby, you know, to get twice as much shooting time or whatever, it's like you're kind of fucked. Yeah. Is that YouTube telling me that I gotta push a button now? No. Getting some streaming stuff going here. Computer slowing down. Well, if it cuts off again, I'm not coming back on for part 3, because it's just me doing this same shit. I'll save my rants for a later day. Alright. We're done with yes. It's too much processing going on here. We're going to go to Jean-Michel Jarre's Equinox. Oh, which will go into Logan's Run, because I have one of my playlists pulled up, so that'll be cool. I should check the time too. What the fuck is going on here? Oh god, it's almost 12:30. Okay, cool. Well, I guess I'm not going to get to Logan's Run soundtrack tonight. This is an island called Winterton, which one of the adventure paths takes place on. Yeah, I'm going to leave that little lake there. I like the idea of that. But anyway, yeah, I have an idea for Logan's Run, which would be cool. It's not super in depth. I more have an idea, honestly, for fucking Rollerball. Speaking of dystopian, and it's not that bullshit 90s action whatever. That whole movie is about escalating violence and the grossness of escalating violence. And so you come out instead, when you're doing a remake, with a fucking PG-13 roller skating, fucking highborn action nonsense. And then basically make all the violence the kind of emotionless, non-consequential PG-13 action movie violence, right? You literally got played. You literally fucking made the movie that the original Rollerball was fucking satirizing, essentially. So yeah, my Rollerball series would be, HBO style fucking violence, Violence would have consequences. Uh, there's so much going on nowadays with fucking sports gambling and all this bullshit. Fucking college kids transferring schools on a whim. Now they're talking about being able to go back, from the NFL back into college. It's all fucking colleges have become. Well, they always were financially driven, but yeah, it's all fucking nonsense. This idea that the Olympics, the pure form of sports, the same thing. It's like getting NFL players to fucking play in the Olympics for flag football or whatever, and boning the actual the America's flag football team because they just want the views and the cash and all that. So yeah, there's a lot of shit going on in sports right now that would be perfect for the story that Rollerball was telling originally. What I'm doing now, I may decide to erase later, but what it's telling people is that this is shallow, probably a lot more shallow than what's going on out here. And there's like some sort of continental drift drop off here, some kind of thing that way. Yeah, this has never existed till today. And now there's a whole fucking story that could be told there. There's a whole adventure path that could be told. Yeah, I'm going to cut it back a little bit. I don't want anything competing with Winterton. There we go. Also working from this further back distance, I think the pen might behave a little differently. Oh. The Rollerball soundtrack is starting now. It's going to make me very sad to shut it off in a couple of minutes here. I had this thing on vinyl up until 2008 or 9, and then I went back to school, and ex-classmate borrowed that in a Brian May LP I had. Never saw him again. Draft to be like, oh, that's my jam. Anyway, but yeah, thanks. Have a good night, and thanks for tuning in.